Hello and welcome back to Authentic Truths with me, Lisa. I've enjoyed some downtime with a visit home to Colorado for vacation, and now I'm back in beautiful Florida, surrounded by the humidity, but refreshed and ready to go. Today's episode is called Unsinkable Grief and focuses on finding our way through grief, something we will experience throughout our life on many levels. I have endured the pain of grief in multiple ways in the last year and a half, 2 years, and this episode will speak to that. Let's go. God gave me 1 year, not to live, but to reflect. I spent the year cycling between the past, the present, and the future. My thoughts peppered with brilliant colors of joy and happiness, and also dark spaces, sometimes seemed ruthless. Time was a sloth. The slow movement through the unknown disarmed me from the inside out. God's presence, a comforting and guiding force in my deepest struggles, was a constant. He knew the silent cries I locked inside my soul. Whether I spoke to them or not, he was aware of the torment. Time, a space between two moments, often breathed within and around me as my thoughts stood still. My heart and mind didn't always align with reality. There were days it was hard to grasp the emptiness I felt in grief. But the reassuring presence of God was a beacon of hope in my darkest times. In a year, I had lost an aunt, stood at her bedside in her final days. I lost contact with an addicted loved one, and I lost myself. On December 21st, 2023, my eyes began to shed tears I hadn't dropped in a long time. I just never cried. I stood by my aunt's side through her final moments and days. And as she passed, sadness encompassed me under its umbrella. The death of a loved one begins a cascade of emotions and feelings, yet eventually the tears give way to a smile, and you begin to remember the happiest of times, the best moments, and their deepest love. And we are safe to remember without feeling the pain of the loss so deeply. We make it through the cycle of grief. Complete loss in contact with a loved one brought me into a form of grief that arises from those severed relationships, and it brought me into a different kind of pain. I clung to desperation for months. For many years, like I said, I failed to release a single tear, but 2024 would be the year they all fell. Waterfall after waterfall cascaded down as my heart reeled in pain. Fierce waves of anxiety strangled my lungs. I couldn't breathe. And hope drifted between what I knew and felt, which clouded the space between me and God. Moving toward trust and surrender, the Lord carried me faithfully through, as he always does. Entering a new year, I realized that the journey had included a loss within myself. The 2 years previous to this had knocked me down and lifted me up and tossed me around. I took jab after jab like a boxer in the ring until I finally left a beloved job. God provided me the next opportunity, but then a chosen relocation would take it away. So life was switching. And I was at peace and I was comfortable, but the whirlwind of change came through like a cyclone, leaving me spinning in grief. And in that grief, I found a new version of myself, stronger and more resilient than before. Thrilled for the move, I remained frozen in what I had left behind. A missing loved one places grief in the ultimate cycle, a relentless loop that circles through every stage without closure, and you experience denial and numbness and shock one day, and then depression and anger the next, and back again, and it just keeps going and going because you never have an end. Reality cuts you like a knife as one memory after another plunges you further into darkness. How does one ever get to acceptance, that final stage of grief? Acceptance is not about forgetting or moving on, but about acknowledging the loss and finding a way to live with it. And that's almost a grief in itself. It's about finding a new normal and learning to carry the memories and the pain with grace and strength. I felt unequipped. Grief feels like the enemy when we're walking through it. It takes your breath away with one smell or a sound or a place. The settling of sadness is an added weight that you must bear alone. No person can ever carry it for you. How anyone does this without Jesus, I will never know. Jesus, the yoke of all creation. He invites us to tether to him in Matthew 11:29. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. His comforting presence and the strength he offers are like a soothing balm to our weary souls, our tired, our burnt out souls. Picture the two oxen yoked together to plow the field. Do you see the big brown wooden yoke that they used to put around their necks as they took the plow through the fields? That is the connection and strength of Jesus with you. This world screams to stay in your lane, but God comes in and says, step into mine. His yoke is about carrying you through the storm. He comes alongside you and enables you to pull together one step at a time as you both share the load. He meets those who need him right where they are. His burden is light. He has you. Seek solace in your faith, for it is not just a source of strength and comfort, but also a guiding light in the darkest of times. The journey for me was an emotional roller coaster filled with joy and God's faithful blessings, and this deep fear and sadness and anger and just scary moments. Grief is another piece of the life puzzle. We cannot ignore it. Nothing we do will prevent us from meeting it. Grief is part of living. But through it, our future can be transformed by the power of God's love and grace in faith and wisdom, offering us, again, the beacon of hope shining bright through our pain. I wish we never had to experience agony. I see Jesus on the cross and Mary below, clenching her fist to her heart, and I know I'm not alone. Sorrow and grief have always been a part of life, and God has always been ready and able to help us through them. We can't let the depths of our pain prevent us from climbing the path of our healing. If you are experiencing grief in your life, I invite you to seek Jesus through the journey. You will find rest in the darkest places and hope when you meet your end. Whether you have a loved one that you've recently lost to death or are experiencing the fear of a missing loved one and a whole different level of grief, or you are seeing significant life changes that maybe knock you down or just have you spinning in uncertainty and fear and doubt, God is there. You need only seek him. I'm always here for you to listen. You can send me a message. You can comment here. I just want to be someone who can come alongside you and help you in this crazy thing that we call life. Take care, and I will see you next time.